Hello guys, the three agreement. Don't make assumption. The hard agreement don't make assumption. We have the tendency to make assumption about everything. The problem with making assumption is that we believe they are to trust. We could swear they are real. We make assumption about what others are doing or see. We take it personally, then we blame them and react by seconding emotional poison with our word. That is why whenever we make assumption or asking for problem, we make an assumption, misunderstand, we take it personally, and we end up creating a whole big drama for nothing. All the sadness and drama you have loved in your life was rooted in the making assumption and taking things personally. Take a moment of consider the trust of this statement, the whole world of control between human. It's about making assumption and taking things personal. Our whole dream of hell is based on that. We create a lot of emotional pain just by making assumption and taking it personal because using we start gasping about our assumption. Remember, gossip is the way we communicated to each other to the dream of hell and transfer poison to one another because we are afraid to ask for the caliph clarification. We make assumption and believe we are right about the assumption. Then we defend our assumption and try to make someone else right. It is always better to ask questions that make an assumption because assumption sets us up for suffering. The big method in the human mind create a lot of chaos which causes us the interrupted everything and misunderstand everything. We only see what we want to see and hear what we want to hear. We don't perceive things the way they are. They have the habit of dreaming with no basis in reality. We reality drums up in our imagination because we don't understand something. We make an assumption about the meaning, and when the truth comes out, the bubble of the our dream poop, and we found out it was not what we saw it was at all. An example, you are walking in the mall and you see a person you like. That person turns to and smiles and then walk away. You can make a lot of assumptions just because of this unexperience. With this assumption, you can create a whole fantasy. And you really want to believe this fantasy and make it real. A whole dream begin to form just from your assumption, and you can believe, oh, this person really like me. In your mind, a whole relationship begin from that. Maybe you even get married. Is this fantasy land? But the fantasy is your mind in your personal dream. Making assumption in our relationship is really asking for problem. Often we make the assumption take our parent know what we think and that we don't have to say what we want. We assume they are going to do what we want because they know us too well. If they don't do what my assume they should do, we fail so hard and say you should have known. Another example, you decide to get married and you make an assumption that your partner sees marriage the same way that you do. Then you live together. I laugh on out. This is not true. This is create a lot of, but you still don't try to clarify your full marriage. The husband come in house from work and the wife is the man. And the husband doesn't know why. Maybe it isn't because the wife made as an assumption. Without telling him what she wants, she makes an assumption that he know her so well that he know that what she wants, as if he can read her mind. She gets so upset because he fails to meet her expectation. Making assumption is relationships leads to the lot of fight, a lot of difference, a lot of misunderstanding with people we supposed love. In any kind of relationship, we can make the assumption that after now what we can, we think, and we don't have to say what we want. They are going to do what we want because they know us too well. If they don't do what we want, what was assumed they should do, we feel hard and think, how could you do that? You should know. Again, we make the assumption that the other person know what we want. A whole drama is created because we make this assumption and then put more assumption on top of it. It is very interesting how the human mind works. We have the need to justify everything, to explain and understand everything in order to feel safe. We have millions of questions that need answer because there are no so many things that the reason mind can explain. It is not important if the answer is correct. Just the answer itself makes us feel safe. It is the why we make assumption. If others tell us something, we make assumption, and if they don't tell us something, we make assumption to fulfill or need to know and to replace. The need to communicate it even if we heard something and we don't understand, we make some assumption about what it means that then believe the assumption. We make all sort of assumption because we don't have the courage to ask question. These assumptions are made so fast and consciously most of the time because we have agreement to communicate it this way. We have agreed that it is not safe to ask questions. We have agreed that if people love us, they should know what they want to, how we feel. When we believe something, we assume we are right about it to the point that we will destroy relationship in order to defend our position. We make the assumption that since life we do, we assume that others think the way we think, feel the way we feel, judgment the way we judge, and abuse the way we abuse. This is the biggest assumption that humans make, and this is the way they have a fear of being ourselves around others because we think anyone else will just as victims, as abuse us and blame us as we do others. So even before others have a chance to reject us, we have already ourselves. That is the way to human mind. We also make assumptions about ourselves, and this create a lot of inner conflict. I say I am able to do this. You make this assumption, for instance, then you discover you aren't able to do it. You overestimate, you underestimate yourself because you haven't taken the time to ask yourself questions and to answer them. Perhaps you need to gather more facts about particular situation, or maybe you need to stop lying yourself about what you totally want. Often when you go into relationship with someone you like, you have to justify you like that person. You only see what you want to see and you deny there are things you don't like about that person. You lie to yourself just to make yourself right. Then you make assumption, and none of the assumption if my love will change this person. But it is not true. Your life will not change anybody. If others change, it is because they want to change, not because you can change them. Then something happened between two of you and you get hurt suddenly. You see what you didn't want to see before. Only now it is amplified by your emotion poison. No, you have to justify your emotion pain and blame them for your choices. We don't need to justify love. It is there or not the real love in accepting other people the way they are without trying to change them. If we ever try to change them, this means we don't really like them. Of course, if you decide to live with someone, if you make that agreement, it is always better to make that agreement with someone who is exactly the way you want him or her to be. Find someone who you don't have to change at all. It is much easier to find someone who is already the way you want him or her to be. Instead of trying to change that person, also that person must love you just the way you are. So he or she doesn't have to change you at all. If others feel they have to change you, that means they really don't love you just the way you are. So maybe with someone if you're not the way her or she want you to be. We have to be what we are, so we don't have to present a false image. If you love me the way I am, okay, take me. If you don't love me the way I am, okay, bye. Find someone else. It might sound harsh, but it's kinda communication means the personal agreement we make with our killer and impossible. Just imagine the day that you stop making assumptions with your partner and eventually with everyone else in your life. Your way of communication will change completely and your relationship will no longer suffer from conflict created by mistake assumption. The accept yourself from making assumptions is to the make sure communication is clear. If you don't understand, ask. Have you courage to ask questions until you are clear as you can be. And even then, do not assume you know all there is not know about a given situation. As you heard the answer, you will not have to make assumption because you will know the truth. Also find your voice to ask for what you want. Everybody else right to tell you no or yes, but you always have the right to ask. Likewise, everybody has the right to ask you, and you have the right to say yes or no. If you don't understand something, it is better for you to ask and be clear inside of making an assumption. There are you stop making assumption, you will communicate on clearly and clearly for of emotional poison. Without making assumption, your word becomes impossible. With clear communication, all of your relationship will change, no, not only with your partner, but with everyone else. You want not to make assumption because everything becomes so clear. This is what I want. This is the one you want. If we communication, this is the way. Or word become impossible. If all human call communication, this is the way. With impossible of the world, the world be no wars, no violence, no misunderstanding. Our human problem would be rebellious of if could just have good, clear communication. This then it the street agreement don't make assumption. Just say this sounds easy, but I understand that it is difficult to do. It is difficult because we so often do exactly the opposite. We have all of this habit and routine that we are not arrive of becoming aware of this habit and understand the importance of this agreement. It is the first step, but understanding is important in the enough information or an idea is merely the send in your mind. What will really make the difference in action? Taking the action over and over again, strengthening your will. Not rest the set and establishing the solid foundation for the new habit to grow. After many repetitions, this new agreement will become second nature, and you will see how the magic of your word transform you from a black magician into the white magician. A white magician used the world for creation, giving, sharing, and loving. By making this agreement a habit, your whole life will completely transform it. When you transform your whole dream, magic just happen in your life. What you need come to you easily because spirit move freely through you. This is the mystery of the intent, the mystery of the spirit, the mystery of gratitude, and the mystery. This is the goal of the two. Later, this is the past person Ferdo. To be continued, fourth agreement, next one. Goodbye.